Hey everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Making sure that individuals are reaching the goals they have set for themselves. That's one of the many goals of Assured Health Services. If you're looking for a residential care provider or searching for ADS services, Assured Health is your go-to place. Assured Health, helping others succeed. Learn more at assuredhealthohio.com or call 419-442-8066. All right, everybody, welcome back to the fourth iteration of the Friends for Life podcast studio. And we have spent the last few weeks building this bad boy from scratch. And we are very excited to test out the new studio. It's a little smaller. It's a little more cozier. I think the lighting's a little better in here.
I love the lighting, man. And as you can see, go blue, everybody. We're still riding that national championship wave.
Yeah, so we decided to do this a little differently. We are going to be not only kind of continuing with our old style of the podcast interviews and stuff like that, we've got some new stuff that we've been talking about cooking. We are going to be doing some more solo episodes with, Tony talking about topics that are near and dear to him. We're going to be doing some more teaching style stuff, and we're going to be doing a lot more, interviews in this beautiful new space. So, Tony, we talked about this a little bit before, kind of shut down. We've been running some kind of recap episodes for the last couple of weeks trying to get this together. I chopped off my finger, so we can say there's blood, sweat, and tears going into this one. So why did you want to build a new studio?
Man, for one, it goes into the constant of what I'm always talking about. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think as long as we've been doing this now, it's got kind of easy to us per se. So, in conjoining what you were already saying, like now we have a new format that we're going to put together that's going to be a lot easier for people not only to follow if they're not familiar with us or the field in general. Like we can actually teach, and then we're going to be showing a whole lot of more pre-production stuff. Like we want to make sure that we're giving quality work to the people. At least I know I do, and every bit of what you do, says the same thing. So as we've been growing this, and all of you listeners and watchers and viewers and stuff, you've been phenomenal in giving us tips and tricks and letting us know what you want to see, what you really want out of this field and out of what we do. What the stuff that we talk about to the places that we go and so on.
Yeah, and this is going to be definitely new for us. We honestly didn't have to get a bunch of new equipment. We just kind of changed the style a little bit, the way it looked.
Which was good, because I did not want to spend that much money again.
Well, it's a game that you have to play. What do they say?
That's right.
You have to spend money to make money.
Which
I'm learning that lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
It sucks. But yeah, this is going to be a really new endeavor for us. And, sometimes... And that's kind of part of running anything or being part of any field, is sometimes things just aren't working the way you want them to, and you got to pivot. And that's what we're doing here. We're pivoting, and we are, bringing more personalized content to not only the field, specifically Ohio, but the issues that we're dealing with. And we're trying to offer more resolutions instead of just talking about the issues, because at the end of the day, that's what we need. Resolutions, not just banter. And, it's difficult to do.
Yeah. Because it starts off fun with, with the banter and with having guests and just talking about the quote unquote things that we know and that we've been through. But if we're not coming to the aid of actual solution, given solution given dialogue, that's what I'm looking for, dialogue. This is a waste of time. This is just chit-chatting. And that happens in every situational place right now. So screw the chit-chat and all of that. We're looking for actual solutions, people.
And one of the things that we had to make sure with this new studio is accessibility.
Yes.
It's very accessible to get in here for anyone. It's in and out. There's no stairs. There's no ramps. There's it's right in the door, right in the studio. So it's very easy to find. It's a lot more centrally located for a lot of people, I feel like. And it is definitely. Just, a place where people, can use the space also along with us to help grow with the community, because it's all about community, and we're trying to figure out how to make a better community, because at the end of the day, that's what's important.
Yes, sir. Right now, between the work that you're putting in, helping individuals, even with the Film Fest, like right now, the Film Festival is going on, and Paul is dedicating his time with Friends for Life and the individuals that we're serving through the community to make sure that they have the opportunity to make not only a great film, but a connection. And just like you were saying, this studio will not just be for us at this point. We want others and people who have visions that they can't afford these kind of things, that we can open up an opportunity for others to come in. And honestly, you might be a better talker than me. You might be able to have a whole lot more information given and shown versus what I know. And I think that that's the only way for us to grow. And I think a lot of people believe that as well.
Yeah, and I read a lot, and I like to specifically read a lot about, dorky stuff about the outdoors, but I also read a lot about, people who have been successful, I just read a book on Henry Ford.
Oh man.
And,
awesome.
a lot of the stuff that they say is you have to work very hard. You have to, be good at your craft. You have to be, best in the world to be at that level, but you also have to do things for other people. It can't just be about you. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we want this podcast to be, is helping other people, not just us. We're doing okay. We don't need help per se, but we need to help those who need help or need the resources to help. And that's a big thing. That's why I wanted to help with the Community Film Festival, because I have a very unique set of skills.
Yeah.
And, some people wouldn't call them useful, but they're unique. And if I can use them to help somebody, then that's what I want to do. And hopefully we make a good film. I mean, we got some interesting, I won't talk about it much, but we've got some interesting concepts coming up for it, and it'll at least look nice.
That's what out of everything, even if you're a crappy person, sometimes if you just look good, it makes it a lot easier and palatable. Yeah. I think, dude, we have been away from actually recording for so long that I had to get some tea to make sure I had enough vocal cord strength. But have you noticed kind of a change in the atmosphere lately? And you tell me, do you think it's because of the eclipse getting ready to come? I really think a lot of people are freaking out about this eclipse, man.
I forgot about the eclipse. I don't get out that much, so I haven't really noticed anything. I mostly am at my home in front of a computer doing our stuff and trying to make our podcast and stuff, and I don't get out as much as I would like to. But yeah, I don't know. I was gone for a week in Texas, and I would say there were some strange vibes going on.
Not really.
It could have been the eclipse. I don't know. Or just people are weird and strange to deal with. So probably both.
I think one of the coolest things is, but it's also, I guess, kind of scary, man. We have right now, and if you're in this field, I'm sure you've been hit with it. A lot of our ADSs and stuff, they're working on shutting down sometimes, and some people viewing it, some not, some staying home, some staying in places. And due to the move, not only for the studio, but our company, the HPC side of it moved as well. I haven't gotten to really see what is the big deal? Who is going to be open? What's not going to be open? And I don't know. The sun being gone in the middle of the day it just seems like it would frighten me. And think about how many individuals out here who might not understand that, and it might frighten them. No matter how much you try to explain to them, they might not comprehend that. Mm-hmm. That's the vibe I've been getting.
Hey, I don't know much about the eclipse other than it's happening. I don't even know when it is, to be completely honest with you.
April 8th, if I'm not mistaken. And not only that, the next one won't be for another 99 or 100 years. So if you miss this one, you're just kind of screwed, bro. Yeah, or for it to be viewed in Ohio.
I'll still be around.
You know what? Me and him, we got a deal too.
Yeah. So anything exciting that I mean, this is also part of a move for Friends for Life as well. I mean, the space is much nicer. I feel like the space is a lot better.
Yeah. We actually have useful space.
Yeah. The other office felt like we were always just kind of running back and forth between 3 or 4 different offices all the time, trying to find where everybody was at. And this is kind of more centrally located and everyone's here.
Yeah. It works out a whole lot better. My team vibe is a whole lot stronger. They feel as if they can see the building blocks. You know how it is when you're working a long time and you're constantly hitting the grindstone, but you never got an opportunity to use the knife. So now my team gets to actually utilize their professionalism to a whole new level and have the matching decor with it. But I think the biggest thing that's going to be out of this next is come April, is our 7th year anniversary. So I'm so excited to be able to have everyone come together and really be like, wow, man, for 7 years we have put this in, and it feels so much longer, really. And not from a negative standpoint, like, oh, you know how if you put your hand on the stove, it'll feel like an eternity, but you get a hug from someone you love, it feels like a second. But in this instant, it just feels like I've been doing this for so long in my life, and I've always given the same passion. Like, my dedication to this has not changed since I was 18 years old. It's still I have the same type of love, if not more, because I see all of those areas of sometimes contempt, sometimes overwork, people who are overworked or drained, and I just appreciate when we do have that burst of energy to be able to continue going on and, create a whole new, I guess, a revolution.
Yeah. And so where do you see, 7's pretty close to 10. What's the vision for the next couple of years? Because 10's a pretty big milestone. They say most businesses don't make it past the first year.
The first year, yeah. I think the numbers go like the first businesses that start the first year have a 50% chance of ending. Then the second year, 50% chance of ending, like all the way up to year 3. And that's why, and a lot of you new business owners, you might find it hard to get credit, especially through your business and stuff in the first 3 years. That's just because the banks want to see that you actually know what you're doing, and that you can run a decent business. But I think a lot of times when you get to like the 7 and 10 mark, it's where do you want to be with it? I think at that stage, a lot of people figure out, okay, if I go too hard, do I really want all of that work that comes with it, all of the, the time, the energy? The other aspect is, well, I can do less, might not make as much, but my life is simpler and I can spend time doing what I want to do when I want to do it. So it's like it really doesn't matter. You can be the $30 million company that has all the amenities, or you can be the $1 million company that you own and control your time a whole lot more. So, and as we all know, time is the one thing that we can't get back. That's the one ROI that I'm always searching for at these days. I am trying to take all the funds that the company makes, put it into people to help them grow and be better. So this can be self-sufficient, and I can control and utilize my time the way I best benefit, which I think is mostly for my children. I'm blessed to be almost 39, and I'm not on LeBron James level, but I can still I can keep up with them. I can keep up with the kids.
Well, and yeah, that's a big part of doing stuff like that is, people, again, think when you have a business, it just comes out of nowhere. And I'm learning very quickly that once you start making money, it feels good, but it really feels terrible when you realize you have to put away like 30% for taxes. Yeah. So if you get a check for $2,000, it's more like $1,500. Yeah. Or if you get a check and you realize that you need to upgrade some things that you haven't been able to afford before you started making money, it doesn't go very far. No. It's just like when you get your paycheck right. at your job. Well, after you get groceries and gas and you pay your house payment, you're like, well, Yeah, that didn't do anything for me. So
it's time to sit down.
It's definitely something, I think if people can make it past that first couple of years, they'll be okay. And like you said, it's very difficult to do that. It takes so much more time and effort than you would ever think because, it's just like a job. People want to get paid a lot before they even do anything. But it's like, I started this video business 5 years ago and I'm just now starting to make a little, like more than breaking equal, like barely. And it took 5 years to get there. And you have to, that's a thing, like a lesson for anyone where you have a disability, whether you're trying to start your own career, whether you suck at reading and you want to be better, you just have to do a little bit every day. And even if you're on the verge of giving up the dream, you have to just go to bed, wake up, and just do a little bit more. And that incrementally builds.
The consistency. I'm interested in what our viewers and listeners think. Do y'all think consistency or talent is more important? Drop us a line, please. Let us know, because I do live in that world that I think consistency is more important than skill.
Absolutely.
What's the saying? Talent beats hard work when hard work, or hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So we a lot of times look at Michael Jordan or something and say, oh, he's a GOAT, but he didn't stop just because he was kind of good, and even some of the best things ever said about him can always go back to when he was, I believe, a junior in high school, and then he was cut from his team. Like, most people think that you're always great at one thing for, since the beginning. And it's like, no, this is what we choose to do.
The Reliable Drug and Alcohol Testing Clinic is a leading provider and convenient source of pre-employment and occupational type testing. Their clinic provides services to a wide range of private businesses, healthcare facilities, and municipal and county courts. Reliable is an independent, locally owned clinic. As a result, they provide their services at a lower cost than the major hospitals, have faster turnaround times on test results, and eliminate the long waits typically incurred at these larger facilities. To learn more, visit reliabledrugtest.com. Yeah, and I think that, just Tony and I, you've been running a business for a long time. I'm just starting now to get into it and figure it out and try and do it. And there's a lot of life lessons that come from that. And I think it applies everywhere. It's just like you go to the gym and the first week you hurt and you're tired and you whatever, and then you spend a month going and it gets easier, and then you spend 6 months going, and then once you realize, oh, I still haven't lost any weight even though I've gone to the gym, then you realize you need to work on your diet, and then all these little pieces start to come together, and then after years it all comes into this well-rounded circle where it all makes sense. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't have a six-pack because I still eat pizza every other day. And all that stuff. It's the same with business. It's the same with life. Like, if I want to be the best I can in the DD field, it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Yep.
You have to, and this is the thing that I've learned from a lot of the reading I've done and a lot of the podcasts I listen to, a lot of the professionals that I look up to in any field, be it this one or whatever, look at our trajectory. And we have proof on video for years of how this podcast has changed from then till now. And then we'll look at this episode and be like, oh, there's things we don't like, and it'll change. And eventually it becomes a great product. But it takes a lot of, this is 4 years of doing this every week for 4 years. It's so people have to take that into account if they want to get better. And one thing that I tell a lot of people is, it doesn't matter how you feel. What matters is if you stay consistent. You're always going to miss a day here and there, or something's going to come up and you won't be able to hit your whatever. But it's for me, I read every day, even if I can only get a paragraph in. It's just I keep in that habit. I open the book. If I can barely keep my eyes open, I read the paragraph or whatever it is. Usually it's a chapter or two. And then, the working out thing at least 5-6 days a week.
Yeah, you got to go through the motion.
The video stuff is every single day because that's what I do professionally and with you and everything. And it's over time it adds up and you get good. And you can do that in anything. You can do that in the DD field. You can be the next CEO of the company. You can start your own company. You can be the next manager, but you got to show up.
You got it.
And people will be mean to you, and people will. I met a guy, I was just at a conference last week, and I'm generally a cordial person. Like, I don't do anything to like make people upset on purpose.
Nice.
And I there's this guy there, and he was rude to me the whole weekend. And
wow.
I was just like, hey man, thanks for coming. We invited you. Like, it takes a lot of patience to not be mean to that person, even though you want to just be like, screw you, dude.
Yeah.
You have to just work on that stuff too. But at the end of the day, because I'm very low key too. I don't go around telling everybody what I do. And at the end of the day, it was the final day, and the guy who runs the event, he's like, Paul's my right-hand man. I couldn't do this event without him. And the guy looked me right in the eyes, and I was like,
yeah, take that.
It's one of those things is you don't know who you're talking to. You got to be, not to say that I'm anything. I'm just saying, like, I could easily be like, never bring this guy back.
And he would probably listen. Like, it's trippy.
The thing I'm getting at is, sometimes a curse at what feels like a curse in the moment is a blessing, because you got fired.
Yeah.
And look where you're at now. Well, would you have, knowing you probably would have, but would you have taken the leap as soon as you did if you wouldn't have got fired?
Honestly, no. I would not have. That is so interesting that you say that, because, and you're giving me chills right now, bro. I was thinking about this the other day, because although, I've told this story before. It was said by somebody I was working with, who I was close with at the time, what are you waiting for? Because I had all of these ducks in a row, and I'm like, what the hell am I waiting for? Mm-hmm. So I started knocking them all out, but I was still kind of comfortable.
Yep.
I was still consistent. Yes, I was completing some things, but if I got everything together, I probably would have been sitting there like, okay, now how do I tactfully do this? Because when you're working for a company and you're starting your own company in the same stuff, like, there's going to be animosity there. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the door wasn't open enough for me to be able to converse with that former employer, to be able to, be all the way open. I was in the beginning, but I think they even knew I got complacent. It was like, oh yeah, Tony's here. He's here for the long. He's doing everything. So he'll just stay with us. And it probably would have continued that way if they had a different change of mind. If they would have opened up the door to kind of hold me into that complacency, I probably would have stayed there another year or so, or even worked out a way that I could have been a top executive, or took some shares of equity, so on and so forth. Because at that point, I was still studying business all these years. There was a lot of time I spent, countless business books, man. You've seen my library at times, and one of the things that I do, I always have to pay it forward. After I'm done with the book, I set it out because I want somebody else to read it, and I go get it on audio as well. So I still have access to the information, but yeah, it's every single person I have had the luxury of being next to, who kind of started this from scratch after being a DSP. I can say I'm one of the few who was fired and had to make their way, and had 5 kids and a wife and all of that stuff. Like, that was my understanding of, dude, you can't fail at this point. Like, if you do, these folks go hungry. Mm-hmm. And I ain't trying to go back to the streets, people.
Well, yeah, and it's just a matter of, I think a lot of people want this magic moment. And, a lot of the books that you'll read or whatever are there's 2 types of books. There's books that are going to tell you what you want to hear, mm-hmm. and tell you that there's a magic formula to do all this stuff. And then there's books that tell you the reality. And we both know that the reality is it ain't easy, mm-hmm. but it's also doable. And I think you need to, I don't like when people give people advice in any capacity. That's like the big thing in the video world is you need to take the leap, and they're just insinuating that you should just quit your job and go out there. I'm like, that's the dumbest
you got to feed yourself, man.
I've ever heard. Like, oh, it puts the pressure on you to succeed. I was like, no, it doesn't. It makes you broke. It makes you have a harder time. If you have a steady job and you're doing fine, work. Like, people don't want to work at night though.
That's the part. You have to do it after.
Yeah, or get up early. Whatever's better for you. But you have like weekends. You don't. There's mm-hmm. if you want to do anything that's worth a crap, you're going to have to give up some of your free time. That's just how it works.
I think I heard someone say, and it's close to what I kind of agree with. For every 4 hours you work for someone else, you need to put an hour in for yourself. So if you're working an 8 to 12 hour shift, you need 2 to 3 hours after your shift is over to do something that you are specifically getting paid for, either a skill or some commerce, something. And the unfortunate truth is most people are looking at their employers expecting them to provide for their lifestyle that doesn't match their skill level or expertise. And I mean, this goes right into what you were saying, and in anything that you do, and since I'm in the DD world and most of my businesses are in the DD world or is associated with the DD world, I can always look and see when people are faking it. When they're really pretending, because they just want the title. They just want to be called CEO. They just want to be called a boss. They just want to be all of that versus actually bringing something to the world. If you're a DSP, if you're an SSA or a guardian, every single one of you have the options and opportunities to add a little more money in your pocket by providing something in this field that can be a lot more than just, fluff.
Well, you can go get your license to be an independent provider and work on the weekends for twice as much money.
Exactly.
If you want to do it. Or you can make your hobby. I'm also a proponent of you don't ever have to make every hobby a business. If you like doing something, but if you want to, you can do it. You just gotta, you're going to have to crank out a resume that you have to. Took me 5 years to build enough credential to get people to hire me because they're like, what have you done? And I'm like, fair. That's a fair
question.
So once and then somebody will take a chance on you someday, and then they'll tell if you do good, you have to do good. Don't forget that part. You can't just skate by.
You can't just be doing crappy stuff.
And then they'll refer you, man. I mean, it's all this. You can advertise as much as you want, but people will tell other people if you do a good job or if you suck. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Because people talk.
Oh,
people,
man.
if you think people are going to keep a secret, you're out of your mind because they never will. Ever. It's not going to happen. They will talk.
Dude, I really think there's always been this part of me that I just don't understand quitting. I get it. Okay, if you don't really like something, I get that. Like if you're not into it. Yeah, if it's just like, okay, I'm not interested at all in this. But
me in sports.
Yeah, right. Like
I have no interest.
But like we can both say for the gym. Like we both love going to the gym. We both love being active and doing that. And honestly, I'm the type of person when I don't do it, I can see it manifest negatives in my life. And I didn't always know why, but thanks to one of our guests for helping me understand my self realization sometime. I've been doing more meditations and just listening into my inner me.
Yeah.
And I really think it's just because it helps unclog my brain. It helps me create finishing task. I almost, your brain is a computer in a sense. And if you put the right programming in there, you never know what might pop up at some point through a synapse connection that you didn't even remember. But if you are active and your blood is rushing and you have a healthy diet and you're living a productive life most of the time, you can create so many solutions to problems just in the morning by going for a 30-minute walk, and it's just like, that's me. I
was at that conference and I caught myself we were doing long days, like 14, 16-hour days, just filming and meetings and things like that. And I caught myself, it was later in the evening, I was getting really irritated with someone, like to the point of like I almost said something. And I had to talk to myself in the quiet. Like I literally had to walk to the bathroom and lock the door and just be like, all right, what's up? And I was like, A, you probably got 4 hours of sleep last night. B, you haven't eaten in 7 hours. You've been locked in a room talking to people. I think you should probably go to bed. So I didn't say anything to anyone. I walked in, I went to my room, I went to sleep. Next day I was fine. And so you just got to know, you got to spend time on yourself thinking about how you are doing. Because like, if you just assume that everything, like people don't just react like that most of the time. There's a reason. Like I'm exhausted and my patience is really low. So I need to go step away for a minute. And then, so you got to like, you have to be able to do stuff like that too. And that's every single one of these things we're talking about is a different thing. Yeah. And they all take a lot of work. It's not like one big piece of a pie. It's like slices, and each slice takes a lot of time to get right.
It's not too many people who are just going to wake up, go on a clean eating diet, exercise for an hour to an hour and a half a day, consume a book and literature and stuff like that to help grow your brain. Like if you do,
sucks.
Well, when you do all of that like that, it's not fun. You don't give yourself enough time to even I guess become accustomed to it.
I would recommend doing all those things separately and slowly.
Yes.
Start a reading regiment, like one page a day if you got to start that slowly, or one I started with 1 page. And now I could read for 3 hours a day easily. If I had unrestrained time to just sit there and read, I could easily read for 3 hours. Like I'm the guy that if I have a 3 hour flight, I'll finish a book. I'll just like there's nothing else to do. I don't watch the movies on the plane. I'll just read a book. But it's like that took years. That took since college to cultivate that. And now it's something I do every day. It's just part of what I do. And then the same with like the diet has been the last chip in that. It's the last thing I wanted to deal with.
Gotcha.
And because it's like, food's good.
Yeah.
But like eating clean is not fun. It's not fun. But then you have to think about it from one of my favorite quotes of all time. Well, I have 2 favorite quotes of all time. Well, a couple. Two from the same person.
Is it Goggins?
No, it's Ronnie Coleman.
Coleman, okay.
He says, the one that I'm talking about right now is he says, I don't eat the food for the taste. I eat the food for the results. And I'm like, yes, that makes so I say that to myself every time because I don't want to eat. I hate Greek yogurt, but it's part of my diet plan and I eat it every single day. And the last bite always makes me want to throw up, but I eat it every day. And then my second favorite quote from Ronnie Coleman says, everybody wants to be a bodybuilder. Nobody wants to lift no heavy ass weights. That's my second favorite quote.
Nice. I love it.
But that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. But I just love that quote. And it's just that it's the same principle. It's the same exact principle. And that's why I like it so much. And it's like, it doesn't have to be all at once. Start 2 days a week eating clean, then move up to 3, and then make it to 6. And if you can do that consistently, give yourself a break one day, eat the Reese's peanut butter cups you love so much, or build it into your diet. Yes. That's what I do. I have an allotted slot in my diet every night at the end of the day for 2 Reese's peanut butter cups. That's it. That's my, if I can make it to the night and I have a decaf coffee before I go to bed with 2 Reese's peanut butter cups, I've hit the pinnacle of existence. And it feels so good. Instead of binge eating like 7 packs of Oreos and feeling like crap. But this is years of me trying to do this. You have to get away from this mindset of immediacy, because you will burn out so quick. You can restrict and restrict and restrict for 2 weeks. Anybody can go on a crash diet for 2 weeks and then you give up. You have to think in years, decades. Lifestyle. You got decades. It's not fun. But if you can think like, if I do this for 6 months, I'm going to be shredded. Yeah. And that's just an example. I mean, it's anything. If 6 months of reading for me, I probably read like 8 to 10 books in 6 months easily. Yep. How many, like the podcast we've put out almost 200 and something? I think 200 plus. I can't keep track anymore. And it's just like, you just sit down and do it. We still have some that haven't never been released. Yeah, you just sit down and do it. You just sit down and do it, and it adds up. Everything adds up. And that goes with your career, that goes with your health, that goes with your sleep, that goes with your body. Sometimes you just need to go to bed an hour earlier and catch up.
I'm Dr. Craig Escudé, President of Intellectability. State developmental disability agencies, managed care organizations, and providers across the United States use Intellectability's health risk screening tool, e-learn courses, and person-centered training to improve health equity for people with IDD. Visit replacingrisks.com to learn more about how you can employ these tools with people you support.
Got to be real right now, because we are talking about health. We are in the health field, and I don't like it when people confuse the DD field like we're just working with people just to keep them from killing themselves and this, that, and the other. No, we're on a whole nother level as well, because health is a part of that. And weight, their diet, and all of this stuff. And this is a field, like, I don't want to be disrespectful or mean, and please don't unsubscribe just because I'm saying this. And if you have to, so be it. But the real is, there's a lot of unhealthy weight people in our field of work, because it is very easy to go to a fast food restaurant, then go to a client's house and just sit there, scroll on our phones, paint or something with the individual, and act like that was something that they wanted to do. And they probably said, hey, let's go outside for a walk, but your joints hurt because you're eating food that makes you unhealthy and inflamed all over, and you're eating a whole bunch of stuff that's going to make you tired. And now we're taking away the opportunity for two healthy people, and we're slowly making them both unhealthy.
Well, you have to lead by example too. At some point, if you want people to see the benefits of it, people have to lead by example.
Yes.
I'm not preaching. I do this every day. I don't need to preach.
Mm-hmm.
I've gained and lost weight 1,000,000 times, and at some point, you just have to decide, like, what are you screwing around for? Like, are you going to do this, or are you just going to keep doing the same crap you've done over and over? But a lot of people don't get that mindset or discipline until they get older. Until I in my 20s, there's no way, because I could eat whatever I wanted and lose weight. It don't matter. Now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, shh. All right.
And real talk, even my wife, she kind of makes fun of me sometimes, because even when I put on a little weight, all it takes me is maybe a weekend of fasting or some light eating, a week of some movement, and I'm back at a decent size. I can drop 10 pounds like that. And but that's just muscle. Nice. It was muscle memory for me. I've been doing it for quite a long time, but I have noticed it's getting a little harder. The closer I get to 40, it's not as simple.
But when at the end of the day, though, if you think about it, what changed my mind drastically, and this isn't a health podcast, this is just me talking. At some point, you realize that your health and your body is all you have.
Yes,
that's it.
You
don't get another one.
Mm-hmm.
I had one surgery in the last 5 years, and it was like, I don't ever want to have to do this again. Yeah. I hate it. So I was like, I'm getting my shit together. Frankly, I'm done. And don't wait until it's wake up call. You know what I mean? It sucks. But most people will. I did. Everybody. Yeah. You have to have that moment in your life, but it's not that bad. It's just food.
Well, even with that, and this goes back to what we were talking about in the business portion of it. I went to my doctor the other day. Man, he read my blood pressure. It was 138/88. My doctor looked at me. He said, "What the hell's going on?" And he goes,
"You don't want to know,
dude." I'm like, dude, I know these aren't my normal levels, but I'm moving my business. Our studio is this. This is late. That is going on, and I just had all of this stuff going on. And he was like, "Okay, that makes sense." And I think I even worked out that morning and had a pre-workout and all kind of stuff. So he knew it was completely odd, but he was like, he gave me some instructions, and I had to take my blood pressure for the past 3 weeks, and I had to just keep a record of it. And I bought a cool one. It keeps track of all of everything. But my average now is 121/80, so I'm at a good spot. But that is the part of owning a business that a lot of people don't really think. All those stressors have to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they stay in you, because if you're flying off the handle at every staff person that you're not completely happy with, you're not going to have any staff, and you're going to be looked at as a tyrant. If you go off on each individual you serve, you're going to seem as if you're just a money-hungry prick. There's all of these caveats that is not conducive to a healthy company, that stress, can form with and destroy. You know, so I am just so happy that it was an isolated situation, but there's so many people that's not the case.
Yep.
You know, there's people around here ticking time bombs, and come on, people. We want you to do better. And like Paul said, this is not a quote unquote health podcast, but we do want the best for everyone. And I know a lot of you work in offices and you're sitting down most of the day. A lot of you are working in homes or in stationary ADSs and stuff like that. So we have to, as human beings, actually take the time regardless and go out and find a way to make ourselves. Most people have smartwatches now, or getting a barometer or something is nothing. Go get you a step counter and do 10,000 steps a day. I mean, that's only 4 or 5 miles, I'm pretty sure. So we can do that, people. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is too, get off this topic, but not knowing what you're eating. Like if you look at a candy bar and you see 250 calories, like most people, that means nothing. That's like an eighth of your daily calorie intake right there. If you looked at it like money, $25 is a quarter of 100.
Good point.
250 is a quarter of 1,000. If you have a 2,000 calorie diet, which is the average, what they say, that's an eighth of your intake for the entire day. So if you eat 4, that's half. Like a serving of Cheetos is like 250, and a serving of Cheetos is like a coffee cup full or less. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's just a lot of people don't know. I never knew until I started looking into it, and I was like, wow. Because it's like I could eat an entire chicken breast and a sweet potato and a whole thing of broccoli, which isn't the greatest like flavor wise of all time, but
that's less than 800 calories.
That's a couple hundred calories versus that's like a Snickers bar and a half. It's like, well,
I might say, because even with that, you can even throw a little bit of butter and stuff on there and still be in a deficit.
And at the end of the day, people make this stuff so complicated. It's not complicated at all. It's literally a matter of calories in versus calories out. So, I mean, if you're eating less calories by like 200 to 500 a day than it takes to maintain your body weight,
you're going
to lose weight.
Yep.
It might not be fast, but it will happen.
As we talk about this, guess what, people? This is going to be a continued topic. I think it's very important that we do help folks. I mean, not only do we have our other shows that we talk about the medical field and the lifestyle and all of that stuff, but we need to really help some people focus, because some folks don't want to bring it up. Some people don't want to talk about it. Some people don't want to do the research that it takes. And you and I do this as a lifestyle, and including my son. I mean, he's a pure gym rat.
More than both of us put together.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I hope people are taking into consideration what we're saying, and it's not, again, to put anybody down. It's to help give all of us some longevity and some understanding of what's going on with our body.
I used to be over 300 pounds.
Damn.
So I
don't even think I've ever seen you that big.
No, you haven't, because I got it under control. It's been a lifelong thing, and it's not. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm not any different than anybody else out there. You just got to make a decision and stick with it and learn a little bit. Which again goes back to everything we've been talking about in this entire podcast. So sorry, that was a giant long rant there. We went off talking, but we haven't even talked together in a few weeks, because I've been traveling. We've been moving around, passing each other, building this new studio. So we got some kinks to work out. That's partly what we're doing with this episode, and we will be back to our regular tune programming and some new stuff for you here very soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the Friends for Life podcast on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back soon with another episode.
THS Remote Supports is clearly focused on improving independent living through dynamic and personalized services. Their systems have been carefully developed and perfected to ensure that everyone receives the best care through the least intrusive means possible. Located in Cincinnati, Ohio, they've spent over 20 years providing in-home supports to individuals with disabilities. If you or someone you know is looking for a remote service provider, go to thsrss.com or call 513-882-9088.